Hi guys, and welcome to the TruGolf Academy. You've joined me, Jon Watts, today at Drayton Park Golf Club. I'm in my swing studio and I want to do a video on calculating distances when we're talking about uphill, downhill, and I'm then going to go on to into the wind and downwind. Now, I know everybody's got slightly different theories on this. This is my best calculations. There is no exact science out there. But from the research I've done and from my own playing experience, this is how I work it out. And I think having this sort of theory in place rather than nothing at all and just guesswork is really going to help you out on the golf course. So here I am at Torrey Pines. When I go ahead and hit this shot, you'll see a sharper image of the hole, the distance, etc. So this is Torrey Pines over in California. It's a par 3, the third hole, down the hill, and that's why I've chosen it. We've got let me look at the yardage, 168 yards to the pin. It's 161 to the middle, the pin's sort of back left, so it's 168 to the pin, but it's 16 yards downhill. So how I calculate that is for every yard uphill and downhill, I add on a yard, or take off a yard. So in this case, being downhill, I'm taking off the distance rather than adding it on. So it's 168, but 16 yards downhill. So in my head, I'm playing that at 152, okay, in yards. So that's my calculation. Not thinking about wind at the minute. I haven't put it on the simulator. This is just calm conditions. We're purely looking at uphill and downhill. If you prefer to work in feet, by all means, that's 3 feet is making 1 yard a difference. So I'm 16 yards downhill. I'm taking 16 yards off my distance that I'm really looking at. If you work more in meters, it's a slightly different calculations, but it's pretty close. Okay, so for me, an 8-iron flies 155 carry. I'm thinking I should be able to stop this pretty quick because it's downhill. So with my normal elevation, the ball's coming into the ground at a steeper angle. So I think I can stop this pretty quick. So I don't think it's a flat out 8, which flies 155 for me. I want to fly it 150, 152. So I feel like it would be a push for a 9-iron, a little bit out of reach. Maybe that would get to middle of the green, but to get to the pin, I think this is an 8. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that. If it was the opposite, if it was uphill, again, I'm just adding on the distance rather than subtracting it. So if it was 150 yards but 10 yards uphill, I'm playing that as a 160 club. So I want you to think about club selection. Yard uphill, add on a yard. Yard downhill, take off a yard, okay? So start planning it that way. Let me go ahead and hit one and see if we're about right. So I've got an 8-iron, which I said is normally a 155 carry. And it's 168 that pin, but it's downhill. That looks all over it. I've just realised I forgot to click on the system. Yeah, spot on. I'll hit one more so you can actually see the ball fly a little bit better. So that one flew 163 yards. As I said, a normal 8 for me is about 155. I just tried to go a little easy on that one, feeling probably more like 150 carry, and it went 13 yards longer than I would expect. It's 16 yards downhill. So you can see the calculation is there or thereabouts. Let me hit one more because I did just forget to start my fraps. So this one's going to, when I hit the shot, you'll actually see the ball flight itself. So let me try one more. Got myself under pressure now. I've hit a good one there. Maybe a little left. Hopefully it's going to hold on. It might just go a little longer because I've pulled it. Stopping on the back edge of the green. Lucky. Lucky because it really slopes away there. So let's just have a quick peek at that last shot. So it's flown 168. I remember I was trying to hit it at a 150-ish yard, taking a little off an 8. 16 yards downhill, so I would expect it to fly 166. It's gone a couple of yards longer with the fact that I just pulled it. You can see the ball started just left of target and was moving a little left. Not dramatic, but it's just enough to add on a couple of yards. So my calculation, I think, is there or thereabouts. In terms of wind, and what I would do if you're playing a tournament, definitely I'd get your stroke saver. I would look at your weather app to look at where the wind direction, the predominant wind direction is. Of course, if you've got a very tree-line course, it is going to swirl a little bit more like it is here at Drayton. But I would still try and get where the wind direction is. And I would actually draw that on the top of the stroke saver, your course planner, so you know where the wind is coming from in normal conditions. I'd definitely do this for a tournament. And I would try and look at what the average wind speed is going to be and maybe what the gust is going to be. Okay, you've got to take that calculation out on the golf course and actually decide whether it's blowing as normal or it's starting to gust a little bit. But your weather app's going to, I use a Met Office, that's going to give me the average wind speed and the gust speed as well. So what I work on is if I'm into the wind, so it's making more of a difference, killing the distance if I'm going into the wind than it is helping me if it's behind. I use, and this is a calculation a lot of golfers will use, 1 mile an hour of wind into my face is making a 1% extra on distance. So if I'm into a 10 mile an hour wind, that's 10%. So if I'm trying to hit a 100-yard shot, it's actually going to be playing 110. If I'm trying to play a 200-yard shot, it's playing 220. So you're adding on 1% for 1 mile of an hour of a wind into your face, okay? So a headwind. And it's slightly different downwind. It doesn't make as much difference. So I work on 0.5% for 1 mile an hour wind behind me, okay? So downwind. So what that means is if you've got a 10 mile an hour wind behind you, okay, so helping you, if you've got a 100-yard shot, that's going to be playing 95 yards. If you've got a 200-yard shot, it's going to be playing 190, okay? So it's just slightly different. It's half when it's behind you as opposed to into. But that's going to give you a really good idea. Now, you can toss up some grass to get an idea of how hard that wind's blowing in the direction. Try and look maybe at the treetops, try and look maybe at the clouds if you can and see how quickly they're moving in the direction. That's going to give you perhaps a better idea than tossing up the grass, depending on how sheltered that hole is there. But definitely use the weather app. Do write in your stroke saver where the wind's coming from, the wind speed, the gust speed. With that calculation, that simple calculation, so I'll just say it again, and the calculations will come up on the screen here for you as well. Wind into my face, I work on 1% for 1 mile an hour of wind. Downwind, I'm working on it helping by 0.5% per mile an hour behind me. So use those calculations. It's going to give you a pretty good idea on the golf course of how to actually counteract with that wind. I hope that's helped. Please do post some comments and questions below. Let me know if you do anything different than that on the golf course. Happy to have your suggestions posted on there so we can all see it as well. Do check us out. All our social media info is coming along the bottom of the screen right now for you guys, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.